Hey, what is up, Northview? We are so glad that you are joining in right now with us as we begin our worship service. I am excited that we are in the midst of spring. You know, we're still fighting some of that cold weather that comes through, but spring is definitely here. The sun is shining. Things are starting to grow again. What is your favorite thing about the spring season? Go ahead, share that with those that are in the room right now with you. And while you are sharing that, we cannot wait to see how God is going to move through this service, how he's going to speak to you, how he's going to encourage you, and how he's going to help you take a next step in your relationship with him. So why don't you guys stand up, turn the volume up, and let us worship.
To the King of glory and light, all praises. To the only giver of life, our maker. The gates are open wide, we worship you. Come see what love has done, amazing. He bought us with his blood, our Savior. The cross is overcome, we worship you. We shout, Hosanna, Jesus he saves. We shout, Hosanna, he rose from the grave. Come and lift him up, Hosanna. Now let the lost be found, forgiven. Death could not hold him down, he's risen. So let the saints cry out, we worship you, we worship you. Shout, Hosanna, Jesus he saves. Shout, Hosanna, he rose from the grave. Come and lift him up, Hosanna. The same power that rolled the stone away, the same power alive in us today. King Jesus, we call upon your name, no other name. The same power that rolled the stone away, the same power alive in us today. King Jesus, we call upon your name, no other name. We shout, Hosanna, Jesus he saves. Shout, Hosanna, he rose from the grave. Come and lift him up, Hosanna. Shout, Hosanna, Jesus he saves. Shout, Hosanna, he rose from the grave. Come and lift him up, Hosanna. 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 When all I see is the battle, you see my victory. When all I see is a mountain, you see a mountain move. And as I walk through the shadows, your love surrounds me. there's nothing to fear now, for I'm safe with you. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. When all I see is the cross, God, you see an empty tomb. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine through the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine through the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. Our God. So when I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I'll lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Oh God, the battle belongs to you.
On April the 2nd, we are having a Good Friday experience. We cannot wait for that moment to take place here in this room. It's going to happen from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. And at the beginning of every hour, there's going to be a 30-minute self-guided experience for you to come in here, to sit down, and to spend time with Jesus. And we're excited about how he's going to speak to you through prayer, how he's going to speak to you through different scriptures that are read, and through different video elements that we are going to share. And we believe that God has something that he wants you to hear that day. So we can't wait to see you there. Again, April the 2nd, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. begins at the beginning of every hour and lasts for 30 minutes. And then on April the 4th, we are going to have our Easter services. And honestly, it's been a year in the making. We can't wait to be here together for that. And we're going to do 3 different services. They're going to begin at different times than what we're used to. So go ahead, write these down. It's going to start at 8 a.m., at 9:30 a.m. and at 11 a.m. And all of that's going to take place here in the room. We're going to have a tent outside. We're going to have donuts and coffee, and it's going to be amazing. And then we just know God is going to move in a very powerful way right here in this space as you and I come in excited, eager to worship Him and to celebrate the resurrection. So we cannot wait to see you there. Please invite your friends, your family, your coworkers. It is going to be a moment that they don't want to miss. Church, we are so excited to announce that we are moving forward with the next step in our Open the Door journey together. At our congregational meeting last Sunday, 92% affirmed the elders' decision to secure financing and begin construction on the center. Groundbreaking will take place in the late spring, April, maybe early May. So please stay tuned for information about our special groundbreaking service date and the time that we will announce in the near future. Now, we are excited about how God has continued moving through this Open the Door journey, and our Open the Door journey is all about us taking a next step in our worship of generosity. And if you want to partner with us in generosity, you can do that through the Give button. You can also do that through our church app, through our webpage, or also mailing in the check. And as we continue to pursue the Lord together and trusting Him in our generosity, trusting Him that He's going to do things that we could never begin to imagine that we could do on our own, we are excited to see how God is going to continue to write this story in our church's history. Church, we are excited about this next message that's going to come through this series called Vantage Point.
I'll never forget the story of Jeff Flanagan. A long time ago, whenever I was going to high school CIY move, they used to take our youth group and split them off and make other small groups, right? And Jeff Flanagan was in our youth group. He was just really chill, really quiet, didn't really say much, super gentle, just a really, really good guy. He never messed with anybody, and nobody ever really messed with him because he was just a cool guy. Well, one day he goes off to one of these other small groups made up of other youth group members that he didn't know and a youth pastor he didn't know. And they get to talking about pranks at CIY. And they told about a prank that they knew about, that where you take shaving cream and you put it in a trash bag. And then you take the lips of the trash bag and you put it underneath the door to somebody's room. Then you take a piece of wood and you lay it on the side where all the shaving cream is, and somebody jumps on that and it just goes and it forces it underneath the door and just destroys the room, okay? Just destroys it with shaving cream. Well, he was there and he heard all about that prank. So then he goes back and somehow the rest of the group found out about that prank. It wasn't from Jeff. Jeff didn't really talk about it. So I don't know how they knew about it, but they found out and they got really, really excited about it and they wanted to do it. So they found a trash bag and they found some shaving cream and it was late at night. It was super late at night. Everybody was up doing this and they were all excited. And so everybody, all the guys were awake and outside in the hallway. And well, except for one guy said, well, it's not because we don't like him. It's just because he's the only one asleep. So they went to his room. And Jeff wakes up. And Jeff looks over at his door, and he sees, all these shadows and everything, and he sees the lips of the trash sack. And so they have no idea on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. And so they have no idea on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. So they have no idea on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. They have no idea on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. Okay, here we go. And they have no idea on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. Okay, here we go. And they laid up the on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. Okay, here we go. And they laid up the piece of wood on the other side of that door what's about to happen to them. And so they're all like, shh. Here we go. And they laid up the piece of wood on it. Somebody was about ready to jump on it, and they're like, 1, 2, 3. And somebody jumps on that piece of wood. And it just destroys them. I mean, it explodes, and in a second, it's just like a shaving cream grenade. Went off, and they are just covered. And Jeff, being the good guy that he was, doesn't even get up. He doesn't go out and laugh at him or anything. He just stays in bed and waits till the next morning. And of course, they're all asking about it, and he told them, "Yeah, I died to trash." I will never forget that. Vantage point, right? Your whole vantage point changes. Everything changes whenever you have a different vantage point. And Vantage Point, that's the series that we're going through in Luke 23 and 24. We're going through it over and over and over through the eyes of different people who experienced that weekend, Jesus' crucifixion and his resurrection. And they all had different vantage points of that weekend. Now, I want to say, don't miss next week. Next week is Easter. And listen, I don't know if it's because we didn't get to have Easter in here or what, but we are really going to make it special next week. So if you're going to be on campus especially, I want to tell you, don't be late. You're going to want to be in the main auditorium on time, maybe even a minute early. But don't miss Easter, either online or on campus. We want to walk through the vantage point of a guy that you might not have really given much thought of and thought to, but I want to promise you that this guy has more impact on your faith than you have ever imagined. This guy's name is Joseph of Arimathea. We know that he was rich, and we know that he was part of a group of guys called the Jewish Ruling Council. And we know because John tells us that he was a secret disciple of Jesus, right? He has the most unique vantage point because he is the one that took Jesus' body off the cross. But in doing so, he risked everything that he had. So here's a question. What do you do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? So check it out. Luke chapter 23, verse 50. Now there was a man named Joseph, a member of the council, a good and upright man. Now what is the council? Let me tell you. It's basically, it was the Jewish rulers of the day. Rome allowed this form of government to exist there, and they allowed some powers to be given to them to make certain decisions, not all decisions, but certain ones. And they partially governed their own people. Now, there was only 70 men that were part of this council. And there was one high priest, so 71 in total, I guess. But Mark tells us that Joseph was part of the council, but he was a prominent member of the council. He was actually part of not only the council, but he was part of the inner circle. He was one of the elite in that group. Now, Matthew tells us that he was also rich. He was very wealthy. Now, listen, the more you have, right, the more status you have, or the more wealth you have in life, right, the harder it is to lose it. That's why Jesus said it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to crouch down and go through a small doorway, right? And so he had a lot to lose. Look in verse 51. It said, he had not consented to their decision and action. He came from the Judean town of Arimathea, and he himself was waiting for the kingdom of God. It says that he had not consented. And that's interesting because Mark says that the council, he says in regards to the council, that they all had voted to put Jesus to death. And so what's going on here? Well, either Mark is saying basically all of them did, which that would be accurate to say because, almost all of them did. Or that Joseph had found a way not to vote that night. That this was an illegal trial and he's out of there. And plus, he's, like I said, he has a lot to risk here. And so maybe he didn't want to lose everything at that point. And so the question is, what do you do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? Look in verse 52. It says, going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body. Why go to Pilate in the first place? Well, here's why. See, the Romans left those bodies on the crosses to decay. And the reason why they did that was as a warning to those travelers passing by. And it's a kind of a gross thing to see, and they were okay with that. They wanted people to know who was in charge, and so they would leave those bodies on the crosses. But the problem was that it was Jewish custom and actually commanded by the Old Testament law to take those bodies down and to give them a proper burial, even for their enemies. This is extremely important because if Joseph does not properly bury Jesus' body, then the Romans are going to throw it into a common grave. And if Jesus' body cannot be accounted for and cannot have known where exactly it was for that weekend, then we can't have an accurate resurrection story. We don't know. If we don't know exactly where that body is, then to say that he rose from the grave, well, we can't accurately say that. And if we don't have that, listen, our whole faith is in question. See, Joseph's role in our faith is bigger than we ever imagined. It took courage, and the courage that he displayed had effects for billions across all continents, across every single generation. But going to Pilate was risky. He stood against the entire council, every single one of them, except for 2 secret disciples, him and Nicodemus, John tells us, voted to put Jesus to death. Every one of them except those 2 guys. Have you ever had to stand against every single one of your family members on something? Have you ever had to stand against every single one of your peers, of your workmates? Maybe it's your bosses. Have you ever had to stand against every single one of your friends or every player on your team or your teachers? Standing against every single person that you're close to, that you respect, that you work with, is one of the hardest things that we'll ever do. And so now there is no more hiding now for Joseph. By going to Pilate and asking for Jesus' body and giving him an honorable burial, you are making a statement. You are outing yourself. See, not even one of Jesus' 12 disciples went to go ask for the body. They were too afraid, but he had the courage, and he went alone. Without doubt, his prominence, that status, his elite status amongst the 70, that is gone now. That is absolutely gone. His seat amongst the 70 might be lost, and maybe even his family riches. See, here's the thing. Joseph's convictions cost him. They were going to cost him. Now, listen, it wasn't just the council that he was afraid of. It was Pilate himself. See, Pilate was furious with the council for forcing him into a situation where he had to execute an innocent man. Now, listen, rulers don't like to be forced to do what they don't want to do. And Joseph was part of that crew. And no doubt, Pilate was extremely mad. And who knows what could have happened when Joseph shows up. What do? When what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? He believes in Jesus. But I wonder how. How did he come to believe in Jesus? Was he there when Jesus fed the 5,000 maybe? Was he there to hear Jesus preach on the mountainside? Was he there when the man born blind testified to the council about Jesus and how he healed him? Maybe he was there to see Lazarus raised from the dead. What was it that made him believe? And the question of, is Jesus who he said he was? What do? When what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of. I'll tell you what he did. He had a moment of boldness. And he goes to Pilate and he asks for his body. In verse 52, it says this. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body. Then he took it down, wrapped it in linen cloth, and placed it in a tomb cut in the rock, one in which no one had yet been laid. It was preparation day, and the Sabbath was about to begin. The women who had come with Jesus from Galilee followed Joseph and saw the tomb and how his body was laid in it. Then they went home and prepared spices and perfumes. But they rested on the Sabbath in obedience to the commandment. It says that he took it down. He took Jesus' body down. He was the one to take Jesus' body off the cross. Think about that with me. That you're going to have to carefully pry a 5 to 7 inch nail out of the cross carefully, removing it from the cross and then also from his hands and his feet. His friend Nicodemus was there, wrapping a sheet around his chest and under his arms, and once the nails were out, carefully lowering him down to the ground. Nathan Rector shared this thought with me, and I thought it was really interesting. He said that it's interesting to think about how that it was his sin, it was Joseph's sin, that nailed Jesus' hands there, that put those nails into his hands and his feet. But that because of a moment of courage that he had the privilege to remove those nails. Now that's a vantage point. What do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? See, Joseph was not the last guy to have what he believed in collide with what he was afraid of. The question is, what do you believe in? See, maybe you believe in Jesus, but you haven't given your life to him because you're afraid that you're not good enough, or you don't know enough, or you have too much sin in your life and you haven't really turned your life around. Well, let me tell you this very clearly. It doesn't work like that. You don't cure yourself and wait till you're better to go to the doctor. You don't wash yourself before you take a shower, and you don't get your life right before you come to Jesus. You just have to have the courage to come to Jesus as you are, and he will change you. What if you believe in him, in Jesus, but you're afraid of what other people are going to think or do? Maybe your family is Catholic, or maybe that your family has totally rejected Jesus and Christianity. And if you gave your life to him today and you went home for Easter lunch, it's going to be awkward. And there's going to be tension. What do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? See, maybe you're single and you meet somebody and you have a great relationship with them, but you're going to find yourself in the dark with that person and they're going to want more. And you know that it's not right, but you risk losing them. Or maybe they want to start living together because financially that makes a lot of sense. What do you do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? And speaking of finances, you know that it's right to be generous but to give a portion of what you earn away. You're afraid that you're going to lose out on some things. Maybe it's a scenario where your superior at work is mistreating somebody and there's risk in acting on what you believe in. Maybe it's sports. Maybe you've gone too far in and church is a low priority and youth group is a low priority and you're not talking about Jesus at home and your children are missing out in their development of their faith. But you're afraid that if you don't go in to those sports 1,000%, that they risk playing time and maybe a scholarship down the road. What do you do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? See, what if it's talking to your friends or your neighbors about Jesus? Maybe you've tried the tactic of being just a good guy and hoping that they catch your Christianity. But it doesn't actually work that way. Actually speaking to them about Jesus is what's needed, but that would risk the status quo. What do you do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? Here's what Joseph did. Joseph had a moment of courage. I love this quote from Benjamin Mee's book, We Bought a Zoo. He writes, "You know, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage. Just literally 20 seconds of just embarrassing bravery. And I promise you, something great will come of it." Think about Joseph's vantage point now. Would he risk all of that to honor Jesus again, knowing now what he knows on that side of eternity? The answer is 1,000 times out of 1,000. See, it wasn't really a risk after all. The reason why it wasn't really a risk is because Friday at 3 p.m., exactly that moment, that's when Jesus died. Because at that moment, all of Joseph's sins were paid for. At that moment, by giving his life to Jesus, his eternal address changed from hell to heaven. Good Friday at 3 p.m. is the greatest hour in human history. Listen, we celebrate Easter because Jesus rising from the dead validated that his work on the cross was legitimate. Raising from the grave didn't pay for our sins. His death paid for our sins. So whatever you think that you're risking for the kingdom of God, that's going to be changed when your vantage point is eternal. So why not change your vantage point now and see things the way that they really are? When you do that, your life will be dramatically changed for the better. Jeff Flanagan, he didn't really have a risk, did he? Because he was on the other side of the door. He had a different vantage point. Listen to this quote by John Piper. He writes this: "The only risks permitted by Christ are the perils of love." Right? In other words, the only risks that there actually really are the perils of love. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. From Luke 6:27-28. Jesus calls us to take risks for the kingdom of God, when our culture calls us to take the opposite approach, maximizing comfort and minimizing our risks. In America, the risk of following Jesus is rising, and it takes people of courage to follow Jesus, to really follow Jesus. At the end of your life, which story do you want to have? What will you do when what you believe in collides with what you're afraid of? Let me pray. Jesus, help us to have courage when courage is required. Help us to see from your vantage point, an eternal vantage point. Help us to be comfortable with risking what we have for the kingdom. Help us to risk what we have for other people to come to know Jesus. God, I pray that you would embolden us when we need to be bold and give us courage when we need to have courage. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son
today, as we wrap up our service, we're just reminded that in the church calendar today is called Palm Sunday, and it's a special day because we look back at the scriptures and we look back at the story of Jesus as he entered into Jerusalem, and all the people had palm branches, and they were shouting and they were crying out Hosanna because they believed that their king had come. Only the king that they expected to come is not the king that actually entered into that city. And what they wanted him and they longed for him to do is actually not what he did as he actually went to the cross. No one expected Jesus to die. Nobody expected this story to end that way. And yet that is exactly what we celebrate here today, each and every week as we celebrate communion. We celebrate the fact that our King did enter into the city, and he entered into the city with a plan that he was going to conquer not some political, not some country, but that he was going to conquer sin. He's going to conquer death, and he was going to give us a new name, that we are now his sons and his daughters. And so as you celebrate communion today, may you remember that what Jesus was thought to have been doing is something completely different than what he did do, and that what he might be doing in your life might not look exactly the way you want it or you anticipate it, but that he is moving in power and that he is moving in ways that are far greater than we could ever imagine. And so as you taste the bread, as you taste the juice, may we remember to be able to trust in Jesus, trust in what he is calling us to do, trust in what he is leading us on in this journey that you and I are following him with. Church, we love you. Cannot wait to see you again next week.